Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Defies, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Shot at Dawn, written by Daddy. The sun had only just risen when they brought him out into the yard. I had seen finer specimens of his species, though only on diplomatic missions and when we attacked the embassy. This would be the first that was executed. When he was brought in front of me, he remained silent. Usually at this point, the begging would begin.
"I give you official notice that your execution shall be carried out this morning," I began formally. "You shall be granted a few moments to calm yourself. I ask that you turn towards the view and kneel for your comfort."
But the human made no effort to move. He stood there, facing me. "I would rather stand and face you, if that's fine," he said nonchalantly. "What?"
"But surely you'd prefer your lost sight to be
I said, put out of place. "If it's fine with you," he cut me off tersely, "I'd really prefer if it was this way." This demand confused me. No one in our species has ever requested that they stand facing the executioner. It was unheard of, but I acquiesced. It was his execution, after all. I took the position by his side. It was the duty of an executioner not to fire before the time was correct.
"Are you without fear?" I asked.
That could be the only answer. "Are you really alive if you don't? Of course I'm scared. But bugger it if I'm going to let it show."
Odd. "Out of respect for your origin, I will grant you a last request," I say.
It was a custom I found during my research of human execution processes. "I suppose a bulletproof vest would be out of the question," he replied in a droll tone. It took me a moment to realize that he was not being serious. Humor strange, given the situation. Eventually he gave a serious answer. "When I was arrested, I had a packet of cigarettes on me." I'd expected this. From my breast pocket, I pulled out the slightly crumpled pack, salvaged from an evidence locker. I also pulled out a matchbook and offered it to him. He took the packet greedily, stuffing the cigarette into his mouth and lighting it expectantly. The human had obviously been craving it for some time. For a long time, there was silence, as the man repeatedly took long inhalations of the smoke. Eventually, though, he began to speak. "You see," the human started between puffs of smoke, "in our species, if we can die standing and facing our killer, it's a final victory of sorts."
"How so?"
"It shows that no matter if you kill us or not, you didn't beat us. We're still brave enough to stand and stare you straight in the eye as you do the deed." I bowed my head at that. From what I knew of humans, they were a prideful race. They took great pride in personal honor. I had seen many of their species' diplomats take great offense to statements where no insult was intended, merely because they felt their respect tarnished. Though I still had one question to ask.
"I can understand your desire to remain upright, but why must you stare us in the eye? Surely looking upon your killer's face is not the last sight you want to see."
He smiled at that. "Well, look at me in the eye when you shoot me, alien. Perhaps you might understand then." With that, he took this last puff of his cigarette, before throwing the last stub on the floor and crushing it with his foot. "Shitty cig anyway," he muttered. "Let's get this done with." I walked from his side then, taking up my place some 15 units away. I couldn't miss at this distance. From my holster, I took up my pistol, formulaically checking that the ammunition was loaded and the safety was off. On the human's body, I found my mark on the left side of his chest. One shot there would strike his heart, causing a shockwave through his body to leave fluids that would cause an immediate loss of consciousness. The damage from the bullet would cause death only a moment later. My eyes drifted to his face after that. I kept my promise. I then said the last words that the human would ever hear.
"Under the light of adaptability, I state your crimes as murder, sabotage, and crimes against the citizens of Te-Anre. I hereby condemn you to die."
My weapon discharged a bare second later. I hit him right where I was meant to. He was dead a moment later. I can still see his eyes 5 years later as I write this. They come in my dreams, boring into me like a parasite. As I reflect upon that day now, I believe that I understand his last words to me. Perhaps it is bravery that commends them to stand and face their executioner, but it's another thing that drives them to stare into their eyes. It is their final war. It is their last victory over me. I may have ended his life, but he cursed me to live with him until my final day. It is haunting to look and see the lights fade from their eyes. The knowledge that you were responsible. I could not distance myself from my actions, as I could with the others whose faces I do not see. I could not say I ended their suffering. He was in fear, yes, but he was not suffering. I knew that as I saw that final, vindictive glare in his eyes. My cell looks over that same yard where it had happened. It used to be a viewing room. But with the massive amounts of prisoners that the humans arrested when they conquered the planet meant that more room had to be made. I watch as the victors take their prisoners into the yard. Political leaders, generals, war criminals, and the like. I saw as they were given the choice to stand or kneel away. Most did the same, kneeling as they desperately tried to avoid their fate by begging for their lives. I could hear the not-so-quiet mutters of the guards as they looked on with what seemed to be pity and disgust. It didn't matter how much they begged. The outcome was the same. My turn will come. My trial was months ago. I was found guilty of murder. For in the final days of the war, it was my order that sent 4 human prisoners to their deaths. Only a week from the conflict. For that crime, I was sentenced to the same fate. I do not regret what I have done. It is in the past now. I am sure that the first human thought the same thing in his final hours. Thoughts of him come constantly now. Until the end, he is my companion. He is still haunting me. He haunts others as well. Sometimes in the yards, hushed groups of humans come. They mill around that same spot, asking the same questions. Is this where it happened? Is this where they died? They would stand there for a while in solemn vigil for those that died honorably, before moving away once more. The human was right. There was an honor in bravery. I think when I go, I shall take my executioner up on their offer. I will stand as he stood and look them in the eye as they pull the trigger. I hope that I can be as brave as that human was. End of story. Story number 2. War, written by Amphicolius. The people of the Nimmergrig and of Earth had a very different experience of war. Humans are naturally aggressive and jealous. They act selfishly as individuals. The first thing a human ever killed was prey, to get the meat. The second thing a human ever killed was a hunter, to get the prey. Nimmergrigians are a hive mind. Each member has his separate thoughts and feelings, but no individual could ever bring themselves to hurt the community. The first thing ever killed by a Nimmergrigian was an alien. It was self-defense. Humans appear to have an innate need for war. In fact, most of their history is born out of a desire to be better at war. New metals were used to construct sturdier weapons. New communications technology was used to better direct armies in the field. Spaceflight was invented to better launch explosives at faraway enemies. When humans want to express they intend to seriously deal with a problem, they say that they will declare war on it. All of this history has created a myriad of different kinds of war: civil, interstate, nuclear, chemical. Even closely related human cultures will have vastly different concepts of war, and even different words for it, like Urlog, Grig, and Gyr. All Nimmergrigian languages have the same word for war. It is a loan from an alien language. However, the fact that the Nimmergrigians did not come up with the concept of war themselves should not be taken to mean that they shy away from it. The first Nimmergrigian crew to meet an alien may have asked what a weapon was, but the second brought guns. The Nimmergrigians took the war like a child to a new toy. Like the debris from a supernova, their empire spread out through the galaxy, in all directions. Their soldiers were said to be invincible, their fleet unbeaten, moved wherever it wanted. In the meantime, as humans got better and better at war, they grew increasingly unwilling to wage it. An idea had formed among them, an idea born from war and stimulated by it. An idea which opposed war. The idea that war is horrible. This idea quickly spread to humans of all ages, races, and nationalities, and it changed them. The inventors of weapons of mass destruction came to recoil at their own creations. Soldiers laid down their arms and refused to fight opponents they did not consider threats. In the end, even their leaders, those who benefited the most from war, stopped using it. By the time humans became spacefaring, they had done away with war almost completely. Throughout the galaxy, humans became known for their negotiations and traders. After all, human vessels were equipped with guns. This was known, but they never used them. Before their clash with the Nimegrigians, nobody had even seen a human army. And herein lies the fundamental difference between a human and a Nimegrigian experience of war. Nimegrigians had only fought aliens. They knew only victory. For centuries, the humans had fought themselves. They had ample experience with defeat. The Nimegrigians had learned war. They loved it. The humans had invented war. They hated it. When the two finally met, the humans saw fellow sentients. They reached out their hands in friendship. The Nimegrigians only saw weakness. They struck. And fire rained on the Nimegrig for 40 days and 40 nights. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.